Okay, so SBI just released another NDA patch note that focuses on improving less used items and abilities. As always, all of these changes are still in testing and may vastly differ in the final patch. The Arcane Staff. The Arcane Staffs are going to get some changes. The time freeze on the Great Arcane, immunity to another time freeze versus players are now from 5 seconds to 11 seconds. This Great Arcane is actually one of the worst, I think, items in the game. Because if you have watched other ZVZ content, especially in like Albion Online's live streams, there was this one scenario where a bunch of rats with great arcanes kept on time freezing other players that are not on their team. So basically, there were Team A or Guild A versus Guild B, and there were a bunch of rats just time freezing Guild A, giving Guild B the advantage because they were just frozen. So I think this is one of the ways that they're trying to counter that, increasing the immunity from another time freeze. The Void as well for the Malevolent Locust. Reworked cleanse logic inside the area. CC effects and debuffs are now instantly removed when applied, preventing micro stuns inside the area. So this is actually a very good change, especially focusing on ZVZ, because now with the Locust, you can cleanse effects and debuffs right away whenever that bubble is like expanding. Okay, that's really good. There's a minor change for bow here, the Wailing Bow. Rework the damage increase logic so that the damage keeps increasing when multiple targets are hit at the same time. So this was like one of like minor issues that Wailing Bow has when you hit a target simultaneously. They're just trying to fix that so that even if you hit a same target at the same time, the Wailing Bow's damage does still increase, which is, I think, how it was intended in the past. The daggers are getting a little love with the chain slash. The chain slash for all the daggers are going to get some buff. The first hit is 90 to 110, and the last hit is going to be 150 to 155. This is definitely good, and it is within the theme of this patch notes, wherein most of these skills are the undervalued skills currently in the patch that we have. So they are just giving some love to those less used items. Brittle Fury or Bridal Fury, no matter what you want to say, how you say it, Brittle Fury or Bridal Fury, fixed missing AoE escalation and reduced base damage to make up for this change. So zero charge damage now reduced from 79 to 63. And the 3 charge damage now from 250 to 200. I'm actually interested to see, because most of these initial changes right now is like more on the ZVC side. So like the Bridal Fury, the penetration is from 75 to 50. Demon Fang also used in ZVZ sometimes from 50 to 40. So most of this, like the first 3 at least, are to address ZVZ skills. Now this is the big one. The fire staffs are also getting some love. The burning field on all fire staffs. The initial damage of the damage of the initial hit increases from 52 to 70. Because most of the time in 1v1 PvP, 2v2, most of the time you are using Q1, which is the Firebolt, or Q3, which is the Searing Flame. The Burning Field definitely needs some love here. It's mostly used in PvE situations, which is really great, a really good skill. But I can see this buff maybe opening ways for other one-shot builds, because I remember Zed and I were using Fire Staff, the Burning Field, to deal incredible amount of damage as a DPS while he was a tank. So I want to see if this actually changes the current meta, and if we can see other Fire Staff users using the Q2 ability in 1v1 or 2v2. And probably see it like in the mist though. Like if you're trying to kite, Q3 is probably still superior for kiting, Q1 for brawling, but at least this minor change to the Fire Staff may give life to using Q2 in other contents rather than just focusing on PvE. And I think one of the biggest change for the Fire Staff is the Flame Blast now gives mobility to the Fire Staff tree. The Fire Staff has always been very good in terms of damage, but you are trading the mobility. So you have really, really good high damage, burst damage, DOT, but literally zero mobility on your skills. Now the Flame Blast changes that. And now if you cast the Flame Blast on yourself, to those who do not know, this is the Flame Blast right here. So this Flame Blast right here currently just either deals damage to your opponent if you cast it to your opponent, or if you cast it to yourself, it will still explode and deal damage around you. But now with the Flame Blast, it will give you 60% movement speed bonus for 1.6 seconds. I am very interested to see how other Fire Staff users use this in the Mist or in even 2v2s. Actually, no. In the Mist or 1v1 PvP, especially in Corrupted Dungeons. Because the biggest disadvantage when using the Fire Staff is you have literally zero mobility, except if you have any other things on your like boots or something like that. But now, Fire Staff users will have an option to actually use the Flame Blast to gain 60% movement speed, but only for 1.6 seconds. Sometimes that's more than enough to catch up to a kiter, but most of the time, this is definitely going to be, or this is going to have minimal effect. I'm interested to see though. I'm interested to see if we are going to see a lot more Fire Staffs in the Mist. All right, moving on to the Holy Staffs. The Holy Touch on the Life Touch Staff. Tick interval is now 0.5 from 0.6. Amount of ticks is 6 to 5. And heal per tick increases from 64 to 76.8. So you are going to heal a lot more, a lot faster. We have seen the Life Touch being used in Corrupted Dungeons, in Stalker Corrupted Dungeons. I wonder if this change, we may see some more Holy Staffs in Stalker Corrupted Dungeons, or will this be enough? Will this 0.5 tick, 5 ticks, and increased per tick heals be enough for this Life Touch staff to be viable for 2v2 Hellgates maybe? The only disadvantage that you have for the Life Touch is that when you're channeling this skill, you are not using any of your Qs and Ws. But this is definitely a good change. I kind of want to see if the Life Touch enters the 2v2 Hellgate meta. Alright, on to the maces. With the Camlan Mace, they're increasing the projectile range by 3 meters to 21 meters now, and increasing the projectile speed to 23.07. That's insanely specific. 23.07. So to all of the Camlan Mace users, rejoice. This is something that I was not aware of. Nature Staffs, for the Soul Link, for the Iron Staff, the ability cannot target mounted players anymore. I did not know that players actually use it for like targeted, or for targeting mounted players, but I guess you can't use it anymore. Spears. So this is definitely one of the underrated skills for the Spears. The Forest of Spears. They are reducing the number of ticks from 8 to 6. This reduces the max channel duration by 0.6 seconds. So less ticks, higher damage. So you are going to deal the same amount of damage overall, but in a shorter period of time. The Carving Sword is finally getting a nerf. Not that much though. So the Carving Sword has been one of the most popular meta in the Mist because of that armor shred. A lot of players are also using it for 2v2 Hellgates. But now with 0 stacks and up to the 3 stacks, everything, the resistance reduction is going to be reduced by quite a bit, not a lot. I again wonder if this change is enough to take it out of its position as one of the strongest weapons in the Mist. Alright, War Gloves. A lot of changes for the War Gloves. Great opening on all War Gloves. The cast range is now 2 to 2.5. So they're just increasing the range on this ability right here. Earth Crusher on the Raven Strike. Self-slow is now just 25%. They are increasing the damage as well per charge. So this is definitely a buff for the Raven Strike. Again, most of this are focused on ZVZs. Very interesting. Despite Gauntlets as well, the Resilience Penetration goes down to 50 along with the Raven Strike. Another is the Mistwalker Shoes. Recast time to teleport is 4 to 6. So they are giving you more chances or more time to use your Mistwalker Shoes to teleport back. You're no longer limited to just 4 seconds. They're increasing it by 50% to 6 seconds. Here as well, the Phase Scale Barrier on the Brazilian Cape, one of the newest capes or skills in the game. They're actually reworking it right away. So instead of removing the debuff and having debuff immunity, you are now immune to purges. Because it's fairly similar, like the Brazilian Cape, as is right now, where it gives you a shield, cleanses the debuffs, gives you buff immunity. It's closely sort of similar to how the Phase Scale hat works, where you have damage, you have debuff immunity. It doesn't remove the debuff, but you have debuff immunity for 7 seconds for the Phase Scale. Now, instead of being immune to debuffs and removing the debuffs, you are now immune to purges. Interesting. I'm assuming they are still going to continue offering the shield plus the immunity to purges. Sandstorm for the Bridgewatch Cape, the slow strength from 20% to 40%. This is definitely going to give birth to some one-shot builds in 2v2, I'm thinking. Or one-shot builds in 1v1 as well with like the dagger pair. Or no, the one-hand dagger. And also, this is actually pretty cool. When changing skills or equipment or spells, the cooldown is reduced from 10 seconds to 5 seconds. This is actually a pretty significant change because players, especially in 1v1 or 2v2, Corrupted Dungeons and 2v2 Hellgates, they now have the ability to kind of cheese, right? Because it's only 5 seconds. 10 seconds is actually a very long time, especially in 2v2 Hellgates when you're changing skills from one skill to another. It gives you like 10 seconds. It can put you at a disadvantage, but at the same time, you cannot cheese, meaning if you see them change, put them in combat, you change, you only need 5 seconds now. So we may see a lot of cheesing in the next patch. So that is it. These are definitely minor changes again. We've seen this is going to be the 3rd patch in 6 weeks for Albion Online. This is very interesting to me. The Flame Blast. The Flame Blast is very interesting because they are giving the Fire Staff mobility skills, although not a lot, still. So we may see a lot of Fire Staffs in the Mist just because of this, but you're definitely not using Firewall if you're using Flame Blast. So you have that trade-off. Do you want like anti-mobility or mobility for yourself? I'm interested. What are you guys interested mostly for this patch?